Welcome back. You're not watching the political segment of the weekend show. From Nigerian football players, the Super Eagles, protesting and missing a day of training before the playoffs in Morocco a couple of days ago, to the Nigerian team actually winning 4-1, and the Anambra State elections, which happened a week ago, and then President Trump speaking on interfering or interceding in the issue of security in Nigeria, and the Minister of the FCT in a verbal altercation with a member of an officer from the Nigerian military. This is the Weekend Show, and we will be talking about state of the nation. My name is Andy Madaki. Joining me to have this conversation, we have Honorable Sergius Ogun, member House of Representatives between 2015 and 2023, political analyst, and a good friend of the Weekend Show. Welcome to the Weekend Show, Honorable.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir. Also joining us here, we have Honorable Bala Ibrahim, the APC National Publicity Director. Welcome to the Weekend Show.
Thank you for having me here.
Great. I'll get straight to it. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was sworn in 2023 as the president of Nigeria. 2 years in, how will you rate his performance so far?
Well, thank you very much. 2 years out of 4 years is halfway, and a good point to take a look at your performance, because you've gone midway. Yes, we've not gotten to where we want to be, but certainly we've gotten away from where we don't want to be. And with what has been done, particularly in the areas of economic reforms, security, the general infrastructure that has been put in education, healthcare, and other sectors that are critical to the development of a nation, I think we will say uhuru. We have done it the way we expect it to be done. The party can beat its chest and say that its programs are being implemented appropriately and the ambition of people are being fulfilled. And we hope, if given the chance to finish our mandate and probably ask for another mandate, Nigerians will be better off. So with what has been done and what is being done, Nigerians ought to commend President Tinubu for his courage and the way and manner he is confronting problems that were hitherto avoided by less courageous leaders.
You mentioned security, healthcare, and education. And it was intentional asking that question because the President of the U.S. and several members of the U.S. Congress and Senate have decided that Nigeria needs help when it comes to security. If security is one of the things which the President has done well with, does this mean the U.S. is blowing it out of proportion when the President says it's ready to come Nigeria, guns are blazing, and they've done security evaluation and they're ready to come to Nigeria's support, which we didn't ask for? How does that now tally with the President's success in security?
You see, performance is always subjective. It's always subjected to perspective. What you do is not for you to say you have done it the right way. That is why there is this peer review mechanism. Someone needs to look at what you are doing. Someone needs to consult you and compare notes with you before he or she passed judgment. America is easily the strongest nation on earth, but that is not to say America is all-knowing and everything that happens on earth is on the palm of America. Every country has its own challenges, particularly security challenges, because we know despite the strength of America, despite their military might, intelligence, and what have you, America was invaded by Osama bin Laden, and that was when we had the unfortunate 9/11 incidents. America could not protect itself from foreign invasion. So if mighty America can be so attacked, what more of Nigeria that is a developing country and always dependent on the assistance of countries like America. Now, I want to believe perspective has come to play here. America or Trump acted or spoke probably out of misinformation. Trump might have been fed with information that is not in tandem with what is on the ground in Nigeria. I'm not saying he's completely wrong, and I'm not saying what he said may not be right. But diplomacy has a way of addressing issues, and we should not do it in a way and manner that will belittle the sovereignty of a country. So this is something for a wider discussion by those that are specialists in that area. But I believe Nigeria is doing its best in tackling the security issues, more so because this is an unconventional warfare. It is not the conventional security challenge that countries have. Terrorism is something that is a challenge to every nation. Nigeria cannot be an exception.
I agree with you on one part that every country has its peculiarities, and even the U.S., they are not without their problems. I saw a video yesterday of people robbing an Apple store in New York in broad daylight. There was a shooting in Cleveland just 2 days ago, and so they have their gun violence problems. But you mentioned something about diplomacy. 2 years into this administration, we don't have ambassadors appointed by the president. Do you think the president has things in control? Because there's no reason. Yes, we have heads of missions and the likes, but 2 years in, if we had ambassadors, maybe someone would have been able to have this conversation with the U.S. government before it escalates to positions where the U.S. president will unilaterally decide action and roles to play in Nigeria. So if the president has things under control, why has it taken 2 years to appoint the right diplomatic people to handle diplomacy for Nigeria?
Yes, the position of ambassador is very important because he is the representative of the president in the country of work. But that is not to say ambassador is everything in the mission. It doesn't mean that without an ambassador, the mission will not be working. It doesn't mean that because Nigeria has not deployed ambassadors in the various missions of the world, Nigeria has no missions in those countries. As I speak to you now, I'm the director of publicity. I'm a technocrat. I am not a politician. My boss is the politician, and he is the national publicity secretary. If my boss is not in the office, it doesn't mean the office will go under lock and key. Work will continue, and if there is anything that is going to be done, that which needs his input, if his deputy is not there, that job will be assigned to me, and I will do it. Where you don't have ambassadors, you have heads of mission. Those heads of mission, they are technocrats. They are public servants. They are civil servants. And I'm not sure we don't have heads of missions in all the missions of Nigeria. And diplomatic activities are ongoing. Ambassador is just the political head, is the highest body. When you go to executive council meetings, you, as a minister, you go there with memo. Probably that memo was prepared by the permanent secretary of your ministry. But the permanent secretary is not there. All the paperwork, all the work might have been done by the directors, the civil servants, and the permanent secretary. So why am I saying this? I'm telling you this because we have all this in place in our missions. Why we have not gotten ambassadors in place, I don't know. But what I know is that things are working in the various missions of Nigeria.
So I would say this, and I've seen and heard some people from the diplomatic community complain about the absence of ambassadors and how it affects relations. I also know that the heads of mission only have a certain level of authorization to carry out certain activities on behalf of the country. And while you say the secretaries and the directors put together the memo, it's about decision makers. And I like that you've admitted that you don't know why, but this is a failing which should have been addressed a long time ago. But I have to bring Honorable Ogun in, and I'll pose the same question to you. 2 years into the president's administration, and seeing the points like security, which has been touted as something which he has worked on, how will you review his performance, especially in the light that if the president is doing so well, why do we have a lot of politicians leaving the APC, PDP, Labour Party, and coming to the ADC coalition?
Well, I think the APC is just a disaster that happened to Nigeria, unfortunately. We're just talking about the foreign mission now. The petroleum minister today is President Ahmed Tinubu. He has Minister of States. So if anybody is coming here for any serious investment, he will not be talking to the permanent secretary of Ministry of Petroleum. He wants to have a deal with the minister. So same thing with having ambassador. I think it's a disaster, like I said, it's a disaster that they have failed to appoint ambassadors. Initially they said, we don't have money. But when you look at Asokoro, duplexes, most houses are duplexes in Asokoro. But today, those duplexes are being demolished and they are building terraces. So who are the people building? I went to see a friend yesterday in Mitama. Behind his house, massive structures coming up. And he told me, person building this is in government. And it's supposed to be a green area, massive. So when you say the country is broke, you don't have money to hire ambassadors. And then we have, now I heard they are screening people to appoint. So I think, it's, like I said, it's a disaster. APC is a disaster to this country. They have missed it almost everywhere, be it economy, be it security. Now we're talking about the security and Trump. From when this president was sworn in, if you are going from Asokoro, trying to enter the villa from Yakubu Gowon way, the back gate, from the day he was sworn in, by the next day, we had posters of him already. Now, later, of course, we had the billboards for 2027. I heard the ones from the airport to the city gate, they have removed them now. They did not give attention to governance, but just campaign for the next election. And to me, that's a disaster. Now, we have heard that suddenly there's money to revamp the security institutions, training institutions, and all that. Did you just wake up to realize that we have issues? And now, people have said all manner of things about America, they should mind their business. My brother just referred to 9/11. 9/11, I was in America. I flew from the day before. I flew from Houston to Oklahoma. I went for a meeting. I woke up in the morning, was watching a Christian channel. I didn't even hear anything about 9/11. I came out to the reception. I saw something like the plane landing or something. We were talking. I just thought maybe it was a movie. And I went back to my room. So when I called the cab that was taking me to my meeting, that was not chatting with me about the incident. I was supposed to return that day to Houston. But because they granted all flights, I had to go by Greyhound, by road into Houston. And it was horrible. But guess what? Most of the people, the actors, have all been eliminated. Most of them have been killed, including the mastermind, in another country entirely. How long did it take them to do that? So we've had Boko Haram and all the other, ISWAP and all of them for how many years now? But what are we doing about it? We are saying America should mind their business and all that. The business of the world is the business of America. You remember FIFA? When America was going to probe FIFA, they said, it's not even a football country. Why are they interfering? They don't have anything. America made sure to remove Seth Blatter and all his group because they said there was corruption. And they proved it. Americans have been supporting us with all manner of aids. So they know where some of the monies that they are giving to us, they know where some of those monies are. So for Trump to come out to make such statements, we need to look inward and maybe tell them, yes, we will try and do our best, but whatever support you can give to us, please do that. That's what I think we should be doing now. Not pointing fingers that they have their own problems, they have not solved it, and they're looking here. We approached them before, if you remember, in the days of Jonathan, and they said because we had human rights issues and they were not going to support us. But from what we heard, they are supporting. But you cannot take somebody's dollars, spend it, and then you're not doing anything, and the man is saying, I want you to account for it indirectly. That's what I think is happening right now. I want you to account for all the dollars I'll be giving you because we know where the monies are going to. And then you are saying they should mind their business. No.
Honorable sir, are you saying that the United States and the president is justified for his statements and including creating a plan of action without even speaking to the Nigerian government, especially saying that you were in the legislative? Is this legal?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we're a sovereign nation, but we go begging them. If we're a sovereign nation and we feel we can solve our problems, why do we go begging them always? Why are we taking aids from them? They are pumping in millions of dollars into our country to support us. So why should they not ask for how that money is spent? That's what they are doing indirectly. We have given you so much money, and yet people are still dying. So we need to know how this money is spent. Simple. And if we travel this, if you look at it anyway, I give it to the government, because look at their rhetorics. I have not seen any, from the president to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, harass America or challenge them to anything. They are saying, look, we need help, we will work this out and all that. That's the way to go about it. Like we rightly said, if they had an ambassador, that's the person that would have been summoned maybe by the Trump administration to say, hey, what's going on in your country? And then he will explain the government part of it. And then he will be instructed to go back and tell the president to sit up. Otherwise, we're going to come in. But we don't have that right now. Like I said, the head of mission is not equipped. Not that they don't know, but do you expect the president of America to be relating with the head of mission? That won't happen. So I think they have missed it. But America, they are within their rights to say all they have said. Because you cannot spend somebody's money and then look the other way. You must account for it.
Okay, let's switch gears to positions where they actually have leadership. We have ministers, and we also have the head of the National Sports Commission. It used to be a ministry, it's now a sports commission, and so that's the equivalent of the minister. On Wednesday, the Super Eagles were about to play the World Cup playoffs, and they actually protested and didn't go for training. Now, the next day, I hear that the president came in and they reached a resolution and they worked. So kudos to the president. However, and I'll start with you, Honorable Bala Ibrahim, you have ministers. You have, the NFF has been a problem in Nigeria for so many years. There's the National Sports Commission, and the players had complained that their bonuses haven't been paid. And I've literally heard that since I was born and I could understand things going on. Now the team struggled and had 1-1 going to extra time and finally won. And the head of the NSC was there and they presented some cash gifts to them. If we have the president, and the president can't do everything, which is why he has appointed people, do you agree that he has the right ministers overseeing the right ministries and agencies, or do you think that we have a huge problem in the leadership of some of these positions? Like we've seen with the NFF, which is under the NSC. We had problems when there was the Athletic Federation championships recently where they didn't have the right kits and all of that. How do you think that should be tackled?
Well, unfortunately, my input here will be very small in the sense that there are two things in life I don't know anything about and I don't get involved in. One of which is sports. The other one is mathematics. I don't know anything about it. So,
but this is a leadership conversation.
Very good. In that side, I will go into it.
Yes.
Leadership is a responsibility, and a responsibility that is not supposed to be discharged unilaterally. You do so in collaboration. You maintain an open door policy where people come to give you advice. Now, you aggregate those opinions or advice given to you and take a decision that, in your view, is the right thing to do. So whoever is given responsibility, the person who appointed him assumed that he has the maturity and the acumen to discharge that responsibility in the way and manner it's supposed to be discharged. So the people that are in places, I think they were chosen on merit, not mediocrity. I believe there are ways they are being evaluated and their performance reviewed. As a matter of fact, for the first time in the political history of this country, we have a desk in this government that is in charge of that review and evaluation, headed by Hadiza Bala Usman. So I want to believe the government is keeping tab on political appointees, and where it sees gaps, it will not hesitate to block or correct the weaknesses. What is happening in a political setting is that everything is always subjected or viewed from the prism of politics. Everything, including poverty, is politicized. Sports, the reason why I don't go into it is because of the politics attached to it. Mathematics is because I've been failing it from day one. So I don't go into things, I try my hands and I don't succeed. So it is this politicization of activities in the sports sector particularly that is always bringing these hues and cries. But that is not to say the leadership is not aware or the people that are put there are incompetent. This is my own view.
Thank you so much, because I do agree that Hadiza Bala is doing, she's a great technocrat. She knows her job, and she's someone I do have confidence in. But we've seen the first person who was removed was a humanitarian minister because of some allegations. Till today, there's been investigations. What has happened about it? We've not seen prosecutions per se, or maybe that's still ongoing, but it's taken so long. However, we've also seen swiftly, when it comes to anything which could affect the 2027 ambition of the president, fast decisions are taken. The Minister of Science and Technology, once it was reported that his results were forged or he didn't finish school, it didn't take up to 3 weeks, and he was asked to resign. And so it comes off as though when certain things could affect the optics of the government, then we have action. But I'll come to you, Honorable Ogun. NFF, NSA, and you are a friend to the young people, so you can't say you don't get it. But I actually do not understand why, when we have tournaments like this, FIFA appropriates some amount of money, which goes to the NFF. The Nigerian government appropriates money. Why can't we pay players? Remember with the Falcons, the last time it was a debate that the Falcons said they wanted their money in dollars, NFF said it's in naira, it was conversion. We have these conversations, but all of us here recall how united Nigeria was when we won that game 4-1. If we had lost that game, then you'll see conversations about the tribes of the players, about the government and all that. But we literally scraped through that. And we still have 2 more games if we are going to qualify. But what's your take on this?
I think it's failure of leadership, like you alluded to. And for some of us, we have always talked about building strong institutions. And the past governments haven't really invested in that. I mean, you mentioned the fact that from when you were growing up, you have always heard of this. So even under the military, it was there. So it's not so much of the politicians. But if you have, these are strong, if you have, these are institutions, if they were built to stand on their own and then to administer the place well. If you have people come in there to try and embezzle money or not do the right thing, they will be kicked out. So I always emphasize on building strong institutions. I remember when I was in the House, I think that was the late President Buhari's first term. I think whether it was Super Falcon or the athletes or the girls, they had to protest to get their allowance. And I remember I spoke on the floor concerning that any of those girls could have been injured. Would even the Super Eagles today, you think they're playing with so much commitment? I don't see that. I don't see that commitment when they are playing. But in their clubs, I mean, we watch Premiership every weekend. The kind of things you don't see them do in their club, because if they do those things, they will be on the bench. But they come to the national team, And I was telling somebody, when we were watching the Nigeria Gabon match on Thursday, I said, look, I don't blame them. Because if they break their leg here playing for Nigeria, that probably will be the end of their career. Then they're probably back to poverty. But if that happens playing for their club, I mean, I'm sure there's huge insurance to cover that. So there's no commitment. So when those guys protested, then I spoke on the floor. They had to say, my daughter will never do this, will never represent Nigeria in this category. Because if you maim her or you go and disable her, how is she going to marry or anything? So I will not encourage it. So it's been there. It's just build strong institutions so that we don't keep going back to this all the time. And if you do something that is wrong, we should be able to probe. Because why I don't think it's just the problem of NFF or the Sports Commission or the Sports Federation, what they call AFN or whatever. I think it's because whenever these protests happen, you hear they're talking about, the presidency intervened. If there was enough in the first case, would the presidency have need to intervene? This one, I heard the presidency intervene. I will the president tried. In Buhari era was the same thing. If there was enough budgeted for it, would the president have need to intervene? If you eat money belonging to the federation, should you not go to jail? I have even said, we should probe the armed forces. I heard there is an ad hoc committee right now to probe, what's it called now, interventions in security. It shouldn't be that alone. Probe the budget, annual budget given to them, probe the monies they receive from multilateral bodies, donations and all that from other countries. We should probe all that. Same thing with INEC. In this country, we had a server that taxpayers' money was used to purchase it and to install it, and they have a back end outside this country. We woke up after advertising that INEC spoke so much about the fact that we are going to have free and fair election, we will transmit, we will have IREV, everything worked in Osun leading to the 2023 election. Suddenly, they say there are glitches. Has it been audited? We should close that out. There must be closure before going into another election. So the point is we cannot have strong institutions if we just gloss through things like this. You must investigate. People must be punished. You must name and shame people. Because if you don't do that, why would the young people not think it's trendy to go into government and steal?
Okay, well, so let's go to our next conversation, which is on accountability. And I'll start with you before we go to Honorable Bala Ibrahim. The Minister of FCT was captured on video a couple of days ago where he went about some land issue, and this is common knowledge and it's in the public domain. We all saw how he spoke to the young man who was acting under instructions of the army. But we also saw police, DSS, and the military going with the minister and also on the other side for land enforcement. Now, I recall saying the minister called the boy a fool on TV and telling him the whole Nigerian, and you're a politician, Nigerian politicians are great at saying, do you know who I am and you weren't here when I was this. I don't think that was the greatest performance. However, as a minister, he's a representation of the president. But while this is going on, the minister had a press briefing, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, where he stated how former President Olusegun Obasanjo called him when he had a land issue and he fixed it. He called a couple of other big people. As the minister, how can you be held accountable if people literally have to come and kneel and beg you to sort out things for them? Which means it's possible for you to fix it, but we still speak about integrity and doing the right thing. But it seems like for anybody to get anything done in Nigeria, you need to kiss the ring. We've had governors decamping as well. So who now holds who accountable? Do you think the military was right for what they did? Do you think that could have been sorted as a civil issue where they get a court injunction and the court rules? Or does the minister have the right to say, you won't develop anything here? As a politician, as a former legislator, shed some more light on this.
Still goes back to what we were just discussing about having strong institutions, and have said it repeatedly that in a constitutional democracy, you won't function, a constitutional democracy will not function well without the rule of law. If things were working well, if you are going to embark on demolition, like the Inspector General of Police said, the police should not be involved it should not be involved with enforcement. That's not their work. Then why should the minister even be involved with enforcement of demolition? Then why is the military? You saw the number of policemen, DSS, army, and all that went with the minister. Yes, we are talking about security issues in this country. And then you still had some officers guarding on guard in that property. It's because people have lost faith in the courts. You have heard Falana saying, look, you cannot even demolish without a court order. Has that been happening in FCT? No, because it's chaos. And if you have strong institutions, people go to a court, get judgment immediately, and is enforced by the state, not minister, not governor. By virtue of Section 299 of the Constitution, Minister Wike is a governor. Abuja is seen as a state. But for the minister to go himself to enforce, and that you have army officers on duty there, shows that something is wrong. How many people watching that will want to come into Nigeria to invest?
I need to bring Honorable Vala Ibrahim in. The minister is the representation of the president, or in Abuja, he's the governor. I recall Governor Sanwo a couple of years ago going to some sites where they were meant to demolish and all, and the police didn't let him because they say you need to speak to the IG of police. And so governors can't control the commissioners of police in their states. We've now seen the Navy saying, listen, I'm following orders. Don't you think that this is a level of disrespect to the president if his representative, which is the minister, can't go and have a position with it being respected? Or do you think the minister could have handled that a different way?
You see, public office is a responsibility. When you are a public office holder, you are given that responsibility based on your ability, capabilities to discharge those responsibilities, and you are expected to discharge them dutifully. You are not supposed to discharge them wrongly or with brigandage. And the Minister of FCT today, Barrister Wilson Wike, is a lawyer. By profession and by training, he should be the one that is conversant with the administration of law and the procedure for implementing issues that have to do with law. More so because he's married to a judge. So it's a case of a person who is the guardian of etiquette now displaying brigandage or engaging in street fighting is against decorum, is against the preaching and teaching of the profession of law. So I think there is a problem somewhere. The president that assigned him that responsibility did not assign him to discharge that responsibility that way. If there is encroachment or if there is a failure in respecting the terms of assignment or whatever, the right thing to do is to go to court. As a lawyer, he knows better. Now, even when you go to court and the court gives order, it is not for the judge to pick people and go to the side and enforce the law. No, it stops there. The assignment is given to people. There are bailiffs, there are other people. When it gets to enforcement, the matter may even get to the IG, who will set up a team after getting a court order. It is that team that will go and enforce. But if at the slightest feel of aberration or something, leaders will go physical to enforce orders. God forbid, one day, the soldier is not trained to caution you with rubber bullet. The soldier is, unlike the police, who may fire tear gas, the soldier is trained to kill when there is threat. Kill when there is threat. So we have to be cautious. We must not be carried away by emotions or the zeal of office. And after all, the people the minister went with, he did what he did because of the power of their arms, which means he knows what the arm can do and he knows what the force can do. So don't go and engage and belittle yourself in something that will, at the end of the day, lead you to coming out and making unnecessary explanation to the extent that you are saying you were quoted out of context.
For something we also have video. But I want to commend you for being candid and honest. It's very rare we see people be this objective on issues like this. And I also saw,
He's not a member of their party.
but he's in the administration.
He's working for
But
them.
I also saw the Minister of Defense speaking the same line. I saw the IG of Police. But something which I would like for you to take back is, if you see on social media the way people are supporting what the military did, it should make us quite concerned that something is wrong somewhere. As a country which has experienced military rule over years, and this is a democracy, when you see so many people supporting something which is not meant to be the norm, it's a thing of concern. And you have stated this because it shows laws are not being respected. And so it's something we need to pay attention to. For people to come out and say, oh, we support what the military did, that could have been handled differently, and there was a lot of professionalism, which I believe the minister should have handled that with. And I saw his press briefing where he was saying he was misquoted. We also the videos. But final question to both of you. Anambra State just had their elections, and APGA won the elections. Do you think this is a referendum on the APC administration and Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration? Because if he was doing quite well, there should be structures in all the states. We've seen literally almost a lot of the governors have decamped to the APC, which means something good is happening in the APC, allegedly, or they're doing it because they want allocations to their state. But do you think seeing Professor Chukwuma Soludo win with over 400,000 votes and the APC candidate having about 99,000 votes, is that a referendum on the APC?
I think it is. It is in the sense that people are beginning to understand and see the intervention of the APC in the area of peaceful conduct of elections. The way and manner the APC is running the country is telling people that elections should not be seen as a do or die. Although the APC lost in Anambra, but the APC was quick to congratulate the winner, simply because it believed the election was conducted freely and fairly, and people were given the chance to choose, and they have chosen that which they like. The APC, despite being in power, did not see it as a must to challenge and take over that state. It said, once this is the decision of the people, so be it, and we respect it, and we will give it to them. The election was conducted peacefully. The election was conducted fairly. The election was done in a way that permitted the people to pick what they think they need. And the APC, the party in power, accepted their decision. So for that peaceful conduct of the election, it shows that peace is beginning to be a friend of the country, particularly during elections. In the past, it wasn't the case, right? Elections, particularly in the Southeast and Anambra in particular, it's a mini war. It's a mini war. I've been to elections in Anambra State. And you just cannot expect to. Most people, when they are going for that election, they write their wills before they leave home because you're not sure you're coming back. And Anambra was the first state where we had a sitting governor kidnapped in the government house. It has never happened anywhere. Not bandits kidnapping you on Abuja, Kaduna. In the government house, he was kidnapped. So peace was a problem to that state. But now time has come under good leadership where elections were conducted without a foul kill. No brigandage, no violence, no nothing. And the result came out peacefully, quietly, and all parties accepted it. So I think it was a referendum, and a referendum where vote of confidence was passed on the APC.
But there was a lot of vote buying. We saw this where votes were being sold between 3,000 to 5,000 naira. So one party was giving 3,000 naira, another party was giving 5,000 naira. Was the election reasonably peaceful? Yes. Did the APC accept this graciously? Yes. We've also seen an election in Nigeria where the fourth person became the first person. And some people feel that what if this administration is letting Anambra have it to give an illusion of objectivity, and then we get the real activity in 2027? I say this because, like Honorable Ogun had mentioned, Osun State elections went really well with Beavers and IREV and all whatnot. Months later, the 2023 election, things crashed and INEC told us, oh, it was our guideline and we have the right to do what we want, pretty much. Do you think that this isn't just strategic?
Well, you see, in matters like this, particularly these days where we have AI and social media as our tools, right? We should not rush to take decisions. I'm a journalist by training, and I've risen to the position of editor. I know how to play with materials. You give me material, I can doctor them, I can change them, I can do all sorts of things. So don't rush to conclude or take judgment based on what you see on social media or the clips you see. They may be doctored. Wait until there is proper investigations. At the end of the day, everything will be looked into properly, and then final judgment can come out. As I speak to you, the BBC, which is the biggest and the best media outfit in the world, had tendered an apology to President Trump over a panorama documentary that was done, that was doctored as alleged. And Trump threatened to go to court. The BBC had admitted, yes, there was an error. Even though it has apologized, but it's not going to pay any money. Now, if the BBC can be accused of doctoring material and is the medium that beats its chest as the best when it comes to editorial integrity in the world, and I'm proud to tell you that I was trained by the BBC. So if they can be so charged, what more of our own playgroup media in Nigeria, where everybody is a journalist if he has a phone? So most of the materials you see circulating on the social media may not necessarily be accurate. They may not necessarily have the integrity to warrant final judgment. That is my take on this.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ogun. I've seen you smile, I've seen you shake your head. Back to my question, Anambra elections. Over 2 million people registered to vote, about 2.3 million. The governor won by 400 plus thousand votes. The APC came second, 99,000. Labour was almost nowhere to be found. Governor Peter Obi lost his polling unit. I don't know how involved the ADC was, but don't you think this is a referendum on the political situation in Nigeria, or do you think Nigerians have actually woken up to say we will do what we want?
Well, I also think the government owes some explanation. How much was spent on that Anambra election by INEC? How much was spent on security? The way we take elections in Nigeria as if it's war, they said 50,000 policemen were dispatched for one election in the state, that less than 1 million people came out. And they say, okay, the turnout was 22% as against the last one. But somebody also explained that the IPOB issue was much higher then. But people registered. There were new people that registered, people that turned 18, people changed their voting places and all that. So even with all that, it didn't count. Security was down. More people registered. You only had 2% increase. If you ask me, the INEC register, voter register, that's the basis of talking about the number of people that are registered in that place is 40. There are so many dead people in that register. They have not cleaned it. I know so, because I have done elections. There are people that are dead that are still in that register. And if you use that as basis of registered voters, it's 40. Then, talking about the election itself, the governor has endorsed this president. He might not cross. He will work for the president in 2027. So it's as good as saying this is our state. My dear brother, talking about allowing the election to matter, it means that Edo State, I'm from Edo State. I was involved in the election. Why did they not allow a level playing field? By till 9 p.m. on the day of the election, IREV was reading 98% of votes that had come in. And PDP were winning with over 40,000 votes. What happened? They stopped it. Went into our INEC office in Benin and manually wrote it. And heavens have not fallen. So we need to audit the system, and people should be punished so that people, the international community, Nigerians will have faith in the system. All that is happening right now, they are cooking everything, and people have lost interest. And this is not going to lead us anywhere. When we are talking about the president is borrowing and borrowing and borrowing, monies are not coming in. If we just sanitize the system, investors will come in. This is a wonderful place to live in. I have lived outside the country. I'd rather live here than live anywhere else. But we should have leaders that will make things work in this country.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. Something which has stood out from this conversation is systems and structures and institutions. Regardless of who the president is, regardless of who the party is,
Absolutely.
we need to build our institutions. We need to have the right systems and structures. And people, when given power, need to act accordingly. And like we will always say, they are here to serve, not as masters of the people. And it's important that they do. Honorable Sergio Sogun, former member House of Representatives, thank you for joining us on the Weekend Show. And Honorable Bala Ibrahim, APC National Publicity Director, thank you for such a candid conversation, and we hope to bring you back in the next couple of weeks and months as we get into the 2027 election season.
It's my pleasure being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.